Welcome to another edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Willis, your host. Today, we are honored to have two very special people. Why is that? You know, we speak a whole lot about organizing and doing things at the grassroots. Well, we have the queen and the king of grassroots here in Harris County. No doubt, they actually put their actions where their mouth is. We are honored to have Diana Martinez, president of Somos Spring Branch, and David Lopez, the treasurer of Somos Spring Branch. For those of you who are followers of Politics and Right, have seen Diana on our show many times before. Diana, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for asking, and thanks for having us on today.
Well, let me tell you, one of the reasons that as soon as I got the press release that you guys have gotten your 501c4, for me, it was a level of excitement because what we want to push continuously is, first of all, community involvement, and secondly, grassroots movement. That is where you actually get control of your own government. So tell me a little bit about this organization.
So our community has been historically underserved, and we want to make sure that we're providing opportunities for our community to mobilize, to get good information, to feel empowered, and to really gain agency through all political processes because it affects their basic needs and just feeling powerful as a community.
Now, David, you this organization is, while you just got your C4, it's not new. Tell us a little bit what actually got you guys involved in the community, knowing that you needed some sort of a grassroots organization.
Yeah, it's a great question. Somos Spring Branch has existed loosely since 2019, and it all started off a need for representation on the school board. It came about after an election that I ran in 2019 for the school board, and then just brought people together, right? And when we bring people together, we talk about issues that are happening in the community, and we found out that in a school at Northbrook High School, there were reports of students being told that they can't speak Spanish in non-instructional setting, which is a possible violation. And so we started organizing around that. We did community walks. We did a Know Your Rights session. So that was like the first iteration of Somos Spring Branch a long time ago. Most recently, we reactivated Somos Spring Branch because Spring Branch IC had announced school closures that were disproportionately affecting Latino and working class families on the north side of Spring Branch. And we knew that Somos Spring Branch could be a vehicle for members in the community to make their voice heard. So that was the most recent actions that we took.
You know what is so interesting is why would, and it behooves me, right? We should all be additive, not subtractive. Why would having kids speak Spanish be a negative as opposed to saying for the non-Spanish speakers, they would somehow get a chance to maybe acquaint themselves with another language? Why so limited, Diane? Why is it that this even becomes a problem?
I would say that it's a short-sightedness about what linguistic and cultural diversity brings to a community. And I think that as a resident, a longtime resident of Spring Branch, I have felt like we haven't embraced and felt embraced by the powers that be and those who make decisions about schooling and resources haven't been in that mindset. And it speaks to the need for representation. It speaks to the need for having those crucial conversations and those difficult conversations because we're here and we're not going anywhere. So it's about pushing for change in those spaces where decisions are being made.
That is interesting that you mentioned the word representation because that is exactly the thing. I mean, I think at one time Spring Branch had just what's called at-large districts. I think all elections were done by an at-large, which meant that if you're in a community, a working community who doesn't have a lot of time to do a lot of voting and at opportune times, the representation on these boards are generally very skewed. And I think you guys, one of the inception of this organization was to ensure that there are laws to mitigate that. Is that correct, David?
Yes. So Spring Branch ISD is still a fully at-large board, and we between that first iteration in 2019 and the 2023, 2024 Somos Spring Branch actions, we actually did support the some organizing around the lawsuit. There's a current voting rights lawsuit that was supposed to go to trial in December, but was affected by other courts in another part of the country. So it's on pause right now. But yeah, a voting rights lawsuit to hold the district accountable to a systemically racist voting system that for forever has really hampered the ability of people of color and everyone in the community to have a representative of their choice on the board. Up until 2022, there had never been a person of color elected to the Spring Branch ISD school board. Meanwhile, 75% of the students are students of color, 56% are economically disadvantaged. All of the trustees live south of I-10, which, economically is one of the wealthiest parts of our state and honestly of our country. So that disparity is what we were organizing around back then, and what we're still going to focus on this year in Spring Branch.
As an activist myself, I understand how a lot of this stuff works, right? In other words, the students in these school districts are just the widgets of production for the rich folks who, why would they want to be on the board anyway? Because of what they actually get in supplying your students. So therefore, you provide the widgets for them, and they do everything else. Now, how successful have you been, Diane, in making the people aware? Because the truth of the matter is, people that are disadvantaged economically, social, and otherwise, voting is important, and they believe in voting. It's just one other thing that if it's not made very easy for them, it's just one of the things that they let go for other priorities. How are you working to really tell people, make a little bit of sacrifice to further engage yourself? 75% of our students are people of color. We're not saying that people of color have to be represented by people of color, but people of color needs to be represented by people who have interest in all. And what you find is that's generally not the case with a lot of those represented on the board.
That's correct. And so if we're looking at those infrastructure changes to allow for broader representation throughout the district, that's more indicative and representative of the actual population, that can be done through single member districts or some sort of hybrid, which we've been pushing for. But it also can be done through early voting locations or changing the date of the election itself, because it is in tandem with some of those the small village municipal elections, which again skews the electorate towards people on the South Side. And there's not really a huge drive for people to go out to the polls in May when there's nothing else on the ballot, and the election is conducted by the school district itself. So it's not run by Harris County, and there are voting locations that are at the schools, like the middle schools, on election day. But if you have early voting locations, they were historically disproportionately placed on the south side of the freeway. And if you have people who are they don't have cars or they're reliant on buses, then I timed it, and it would be up to 3 buses to get to a polling location. They've tried to make them more spread out because we brought awareness to that, but also it's meeting people where they are, meeting our community members and talking to them about their real issues and letting them kind of drive our actions based on what their concerns are. And that's how you can make movement, when it's based on the needs of the people.
Now, David, is the concern of this organization, Somos Spring Branch, solely about the school district, or are you going to make this more of a grassroots, politically engaged community type organization? That, well, today's topic is, or not today's topic, but today's project, if you will, is we want to make sure that the school board is run appropriately. Are you going to work on some other projects as well?
Absolutely. We're setting Somos Spring Branch to be one of the major community organizing groups on the north side of Spring Branch, also one of the only ones, right? That was part of the reason why we coalesced as a group, is because there's been a lack of organized people and organized money as well on the north side that brings in a multiracial coalition to advocate for policies and laws that benefit everyone in this district. So right now, we do have one goal and one focus on this next election that's coming up in Spring Branch ISD in May. The filing deadline is February 14th, and currently there's 2 people filed and with no opponent. And 2 people filed that align with the current school board. So we're really trying to find someone. So if anybody's here and live in Spring Branch, want to run, and your values align with Somos Spring Branch, reach out. We can help.
But hold on. This is going to be played on KPFT. So I want you to look into the camera and look into the microphone and tell folks that you guys must have, don't ask, demand of the community. You guys must come out here. We need 2 candidates that represent the community running in this election. We've got the parts. Please, David, please go for it.
Spring Branch, now is the time. We need you to run. If you value inclusion, if you value every child having a representative on our school board, the filing deadline's coming up. Reach out to us. We will help you. And we need you to run this year. Because if it's not now, we're gonna have an election every year, right? And we need you now.
It's interesting, folks. It's very easy to get to these peoples. Somos Spring Branch at gmail.com. Somos Spring Branch, and Somos for the non-Spanish speakers is SOMOS. Somos Spring Branch at gmail.com. Anyway, look, I'm glad to hear that you're going to be engaged in a lot of other things. I hope you all, Diana, will be engaged in the general purpose election, because this is also an election that's going to be, in my humble opinion, not just at the presidential level, but at the district level, at all these levels, very important for all of us. Are you guys going to be engaged with the November election as well?
It's definitely on our list to make sure that we're bringing people information about the election, talking to them about issues, and plugging them in with opportunities to get out the vote, to get themselves registered, to get their family and friends registered and neighbors, because we know that people will trust people that they have in their circle, and we want to make use of those connections, because that's the only way we move the needle. That's the only way we make change. And it's for the betterment of our community. And we're not going anywhere, like I mentioned before, and we're devoted to this cause.
Diana, one of the reasons, again, like I said, I wanted to feature you all, because this is not just local for Spring Branch. This is what every community in Texas, every community in Oklahoma, Alabama, New York needs to do. We talk a lot about government not working or government being bad, as we have to start taking responsibility for being the government. I know you personally, Diane, you've done your work and showed that you are going to be a participant in government. Please keep doing that. And I'm just very happy to see that we have an engaged community. The last question I always ask, and you should know this, Dan, but I'm going to ask David first to give you a little break. What question would you have liked me to ask you, David, that I didn't ask you? And be prepared for the same question, Diana.
I would have loved a question asking, how are you going to fund all of this community organizing, all of the get out the vote? And I'm happy to answer myself.
Please do.
We are now a 501c4, so we have a founding donor fundraising campaign right now. And if you are out there, I'm going to speak back into the camera. Please support. If you believe that communities should work within themselves to make sure that there's community well-being, if you believe in civic engagement, if you believe in the power of community and collective action, this is an organization that you should support. And go to somospringbranch.org or our Instagram, and you can find our Act Blue donation link there.
Same question for you, Deanna.
I would say I would like for you to have asked, how can I get involved or how can I help? And beyond just donations, we also need people to share our information, to plug in on our social media, because I firmly believe that the key to turning the state and really solidifying the work that has been done across many areas in Harris County is in Spring Branch. And so I will be working diligently to that end, and I know that other people are interested too. So I want us to connect and get to work.
Diana Alexander, David Lopez of Somos Spring Branch, thank you so kindly for having been on Politics Done Right. And please, folks, go to somosspringbranch.org. Be a part of it. Thank you.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.